When a baby is born and it doesn't cry, that should concern you and me. The reason why babies cry the moment that they are born, or at least within the first 5 minutes, is because they are proving to you and me that they can survive outside an environment where they used to be. Now, we all know that the baby is developed in the mother's womb, and the environment there is very different compared to the outside. The baby there doesn't breathe this air that we breathe. But when they come to the outside, they have to start using it. So in an attempt to clear that airway, they end up crying, and also because they're changing that environment. Now, when the baby cries, that's not the only thing that we're going to assess to say this is a fit baby and can go back home with their mother. There will be no problems that will happen in the future. We have a scoring system that we call the APGAR score. Now, APGAR is made up of 5 letters, and the 5 letters is made up of the 5 parameters that we have to test for. So each of the 5 parameters score a maximum point of 2. So 2 by 5, that's going to be 10. So a good baby will score a perfect score of 10 out of 10. But we don't usually get to see that, and we'll see why. For reference sake, an APGAR score that is 7 and above is considered normal. And an APGAR score that is 3 and below is considered very critical. These are babies that will require resuscitation. So a doctor or the midwife is going to get this baby and go and attempt to make it breathe again, or maybe different things that we usually do as you see in the hospitals to try and attempt that this baby within the first 5 minutes should be able to do what it should have done within the first minute. The first letter, letter A of the APGAR score, is meant for activity. And by activity, we're just trying to assess the muscle tone. And for us to say that this baby has scored a 2 out of 2 on the muscle tone, they should be sort of in this position as shown on the screen, sort of like they want to fight, but they don't have like the fists formed. And then for the baby to score 1, they kind of have to be in this position, but they're a little bit weak and a little bit flabby in that state. And for a 1 is when the baby is just flat, like there's no activity whatsoever. You try to pull the hand and then it just falls like on its own. The second parameter, P, is the pulse. So every baby should have a pulse of above 100 the moment that you are born. So if you score above 100, that's considered 2. And if you score below 100, we consider that as a 1. And then if it's absent, like nothing at all, there's no pulse, it's considered a 0. The third letter, the letter G, stands for grimace. Now, grimace is like a baby should be one that has a very short temper. The moment that you just touch a little bit, the baby is already moving and is able to cry. If you stimulate the baby a little bit and then it cries, that's a 2. But then when you stimulate the baby, or you require a lot of stimulation for the baby just to cry, that's considered a 1. And then if you have nothing at all, when you stimulate the baby that much, you get a 0. The fourth letter stands for appearance, and appearance is the reason why a lot of babies usually score a score of less than 10. The reason behind this is that for you to score 2 out of 2, you need to be pink. So the baby has to be pink, very pink. Many babies, however, score 1 in this parameter, and the reason behind that is that there's a normal physiological thing that happens, like normally when a baby is born, that the blood kind of moves centrally, like here in the body, and then leaves out these other parts. So you'll find that the hands and feet are bluish, but the body is just okay, and everything else on the baby is okay. So this is very much normal, and this is called acrocyanosis. And this will resolve within a few hours. So that's the main reason why a baby will not score a 10 out of 10. And then when the baby is blue everywhere, this is a score of 0. And the last letter is R, and R stands for respiration. So here, they cry. If the baby just cries, the moment they cry and it's a very good cry, that one is going to be considered a score of 2. And then when the baby has a weak cry, or maybe it's kind of like irregular, not so strong, here the baby will have a score of 1. And if there's nothing at all, the baby scores 0. So like I said in the beginning, an APGAR score of 7 and above is considered normal. But when you have an APGAR score that is 3, 4, somewhere there, or less, this calls for resuscitation. So these are moments where the moment you delivered, if you don't hear your baby crying, the doctors or the midwives got the baby, took the baby somewhere, and probably after like 3 minutes or so, you heard the baby crying, and now the baby is still fine and still today. The reason that the APGAR score is very important is because it has repercussions of what happens during that same period in the future. So there are certain babies that had an APGAR score of like 4 out of 10, even at 10 minutes after all the resuscitation. The implication of this is that the baby may develop cerebral palsy, or maybe these are babies who you just find that someone in the future is just sort of slow. Like someone is just okay, but they're just slow in the way that they do things. So to end this video, I'll ask you to go and ask your guardian or whoever was there when you were born, what was your APGAR score when you were born? Maybe that's the reason why you struggle with a few things and whatnot. But anyways, that's it.